behind the camera. That was really kind of my true calling, and I studied film, and I've been fortunate. I've worked in production and film production for a long time, I think going on 10 years, and that's really my strong suit, and that's what I like to do, so.
Well, fantastic. It's great to see you here today, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Allen.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm going to ask Amy to stay with me as I introduce my next guest. Now, he's the man responsible for creating many of the noises you hear in that galaxy far, far away. From an explosion, thank you, to an alien grunt. No, alien grunt, thank you. You can be sure my next guest twiddled a knob to make it sound just so. He then went from designing sound to making it. His most famous vocal creation is General Grievous. He had 4 arms and a nasty cough. Along with his tailor and his doctor, you'll be pleased to know my next guest has neither. But he does, however, have talent, and lots of it. So prick up your ears and let these pictures do the talking. Good to me. Now put your fingers in your ears and welcome him with loud THX certified applause. Actually, that's impossible. Don't do that. Ladies and gentlemen, please clap loudly for Mr. Matthew Wood. Welcome, Matthew. Oh, it's nice to have you here, Matthew. A couple of years ago, I interviewed you at Star Wars Weekend.
I remember.
So how's your trip been so far?
Great. We got last night. I'm here with my brother, and you know, it's hot, but I've had a great time meeting all the fans, and I always like coming to Disney World.
Fantastic. Now, apart from playing several voices and cameos, etc., which we'll come to a little bit later, you are primarily a sound editor?
Yeah. It's called supervising sound editor. It's basically the person that's in charge of making the director's vision of what he wants in the audio portion of the film come to life.
I see. So George would describe to you, I want it to sound like this, and make a funny sound with his voice.
Yeah.
And you have to come up with it.
Exactly. We go out in the field, myself and my co-designer Ben Burch, who created like the lightsabers and R2-D2 and Chewbacca's vocals and all that. We'll go out and record sound effects in real life, bring them back to the studio and alter them somewhat or add them and mix them together to make the planets and ambiences and creatures and robots and vehicles and everything that you hear in Star Wars. Yeah.
So you really do create, you know, the Star Wars galaxy in sound. Paint a picture with sound.
Yeah, George likes to say that it's 50% of the experience of sound in the movie.
Absolutely. I think it's something that, you know, audiences certainly take for granted when they watch a film, don't they? The sound kind of washes over them.
Right.
But it's the pictures that kind of, you know, you immediately think matter, but the sound is that important.
Yeah, especially in a Star Wars film where most of, I was listening to what Amy was saying, how most of what we do is on the green screen. So you're creating all those new environments from scratch.
You're fabricating the whole thing.
Exactly.
There's nothing to start with, absolutely not. Yeah, unlike the real world. Well, I think we're going to look at a piece of video now which shows you...
Oh, what's that?
What was that there? Okay, this is a video of you now out in the field gathering sound and talking a little bit about your work.
I've always had the sound designer working on the picture from the very beginning. Ben Burtt created the sound for the laser sword that really affected how I approached the laser sword fight.
Fantasy like Star Wars requires the complete fabrication of a complete sound world, from footsteps to exploding space stations.
Ben's sounds, they're really unique, and he has just a great library of sound that he's worked with and great experience and great knowledge in that area of the artistic development of sound.
Matthew would work on episode 1, setting up the whole sound design workstation that I was to use.
I provide him raw sound effects elements. We're revving it to the next level with the film. Let's do it with sound too.
This is the only flying example of a Vickers Vimy in the world. This was the B-1 bomber of World War I.
It's totally unique. They've got those giant wood propellers. Hopefully they're going to oscillate in some way that's going to sound unique. I'll try to get as many different types of sounds that it makes.
The end result of a motion picture is a great combination of picture and sound working together to most effectively and dramatically tell the story.
Yeah, that was perfect. I got a really interesting sound out of there, and definitely it's going to end up in the film with that. Cool!
Your most sort of famous creations, I suppose, is General Grievous.
Yeah.
You provided the voice for Grievous as well.
I did, yeah. That was on episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. There was the new villain, and he was going to be completely CG, so the voice was going to have to be recorded before the visuals were done.
Yeah.
And George had several ideas of what he wanted the character to sound like, and we put out casting packages all over, like Los Angeles and London and Sydney and San Francisco, and I had the advantage of being there at Skywalker Ranch, hearing him audition various actors, and I got to hear what he liked and what he didn't like, and so I was able to listen to that. And I'm also an actor as well, so
you had inside knowledge as to what he wanted, so you could fine-tune what you were doing to kind of more of his vision.
Right, and so the last casting package that went out, we were processing all the voices to sound like they were robots. So the last package that George got, a friend of mine that I was recording with said, you know, you should put your own audition in there with it. You've heard all this for the last 6 months about what George wanted. Yeah. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's inappropriate. I'm not gonna do it. Like, no, you really should. So I did, and I put it in under a pseudonym, but didn't use my own name. And so I used this name called Alan Smithy. It's kind of like the pseudonym name, and I gave it up to Rick McCallum and George, and so I got the call after I gave him the last package, and Rick McCallum was like, hey, he's decided on who he wants, we got the sound, tell me who it was on the list, because I just gave him the little AS from mine. I said, it's AS. So I looked on the list of all the other actors that I had processed, and I was like, there's no AS on this list. I don't know who that is. Because I had forgotten, because I'd done it a week before, and I was like,
it's you.
That's me.
My word. Now that's very fortunate, obviously. A little bit naughty as well.
Yeah, sure.
Now, you've got a microphone down here. Now, I believe, can you give us a demonstration now live?
I can.
On General Grievous.
I sure
Fantastic.
can. Yeah.
Would you like to hear a bit of live Grievous? Yeah. So just give us a couple of lines from the movie, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Oh, you really have to physically get into character as well. You're not going to sprout another couple of arms, are you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I look in the other room. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So this might be on.
You fool! I've been trained in the Jedi arts by Count Dooku.
How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Fantastic. Now, perhaps could we do Grievous ordering a pizza? I'd like to see what that sounds like.
I would like pepperoni and mini anchovies. And for my vegetarian friends, tomato and cheese.
Fantastic. Now, no, don't fall too loud. Not yet. I'm sort of sitting there, I'm thinking, Matt's got a computer, he's got a microphone, and Matt, I reckon anybody could do this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's all down to all your box of tricks down here.
Just a bunch of trickery?
I bet you now, right, I could get you some people out of this very audience here, and they would sound like Grievous.
Let's try it.
What do you reckon? You on for that? Can we get some volunteers, Jim? Can we get me some volunteers here? And prove to you now that it's all about your box of tricks.
I'll just sit down and I'll let you handle that.
Well, we've got a line here. Actually, you say this first.
All right, that's Grievous.
So give us the benchmark here.
All right, here's the benchmark.
This is the Grievous benchmark.
Your lightsaber will make a fine addition to my collection.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Matt, for that. Okay, right, now. Hello, welcome to the stage. Right, that is your line. Don't let me down here, okay?